Welcome to the Afterdark Podcast. I'm your host, Jess Afterdark, and I'm here with my lovely co-host,
Ryan Afterdark.
That was so bad. I feel like I messed that up, but it's all right. We're going to run with it. So
just let it roll.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our weekly segment of talking about things that we don't know what we're going to talk about until we sit down. Mm-hmm. But we've decided this week that we are going to focus on life advice. I feel like this is a good platform to use to just share life advice Ryan and I have. We actually had a pretty good week. We started, I think we talked about this shortly on our last podcast. We started 75 Hard last week. So today we're on what, day
8?
Day 8. It's Monday we're recording. Mm-hmm. We won't post till Wednesday, but we started last Sunday. Don't know the date of that, but whatever. We're 8 days in, and we feel fantastic. So we figured, are you
No, I was looking to see what the date was.
I think today, what's today, the 19th?
It's the 19th, yeah. So it would have been the 11th, yeah.
Math?
Yep. Can't do it.
Can't do it. Have no idea. So we kind of thought about just doing a little bit of, I don't know, feel good life advice. Yeah. My advice had nothing to do with actually us doing 75 Hard.
Yeah.
Mine came to me as I was driving to work one day. It's like a 45 to an hour long drive. And the day before I was on a call about recruiting. So my firm needs new people. We go to the local colleges and we recruit. And the local college that we'll recruit at this time is actually my college that I graduated from. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about how cool it would be if I like connected with some of my old professors and like went in and talked to some of the students. And so I was thinking, I've been in my career path now over 5 years.
Yeah, you're in your 6th now.
Yep. So I was kind of thinking about like just some questions people tend to have in college about like when they're talking to people in their careers, right? Like what kind of questions do you have? And, you know, I was kind of thinking through as somebody who overthinks does. And I was like, what would they ask me? What would I say? And I was kind of thinking through like, well, I think the very first advice I would give to somebody like coming out of college, which then turned into, I think in general, giving anybody life advice in general, comes down to like when you're picking your career path, it's trying to figure out who you are as a person from like a work ethic standpoint. Like if you're going to go into a job that requires just a lot of self-work, like meaning no one's watching you do your job. It's end product based. So like in 4 months from now, this is what needs to be done versus like somebody every day will be like, go and do this one thing. Like you have to kind of figure out when you're picking your life choice, like who you are as a person, and having that self-reflection matters, right? So like, don't be someone that needs to be like handheld and told what to do and go into a career path where you're just given free reign because it's just not going to work. And then you're going to hate it. And you're going to be like, what the heck? Why am I working late sometimes and working not late sometimes? Like it's going to suck.
Right.
Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely.
Right. So, and then at the same time, you have to figure out your work ethic, like your work style. Mm-hmm. And then you also have to figure out your like abilities to set boundaries.
Yep.
Okay. We've talked about boundaries many, many times on these podcasts, but that flows into your career path. So a career path I chose is very, very pushy on people's boundaries. Like people will take and take and take and take from you and give not much back if you don't have any boundaries in my career path. However, I am someone who sets very strong boundaries. So for me, I don't feel always, there's been times, but I don't often feel like I'm being taken advantage of because I've set that boundary.
Right. Like, and you struggle with that in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But as you've grown and progressed, you've learned kind of like just how to have that hard boundary. And then,
correct.
You know, people tend to respect that once you set those.
Correct. So, how to say no and not take everyone else's monkeys. Like I read this book way back in the day. I think it's called The 5-Minute Manager, but there's like a whole chapter about taking other people's monkeys, which is the idea that like you need a little bit of help, so I like take that on, and she needs a little bit of help, so I take that on, rather than like delegating that out. And before you know it, Ryan's life's better, my friend's life's better, but I am drowning in the deep end just because I took everybody else's monkey.
Right.
In reality, that's just not...
It's not yours to
You
have.
can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your circus. So as someone who works in a field that, you know, I'm gonna be transparent. There's times I work like 90-hour work weeks. Like, there's times of the year that I'm required to work a minimum of 55-hour work weeks.
And 55 chargeable hours.
Yeah,
so like
correct.
travel doesn't count, things like that.
Correct. It has to be like me being able to charge the time to a client. So there's been times where I worked out of town and I would drive 2.5 hours there and back, stay at a hotel, like, and none of that time counted towards my 55s. So that can be like a really just hard, just in general, it can be like a really hard, however, it can be rewarding. Like, I'm at a point now in my career that, like, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm making good money. Like, there's, I mean, you kind of sell your soul for something, right? And apparently I sold myself to the right people, but I had to work for that. I had to pay for that, one way or the other. However, had I not established from a very early on what that looks like, and I work with multiple different people. It's not like I had one boss. So I set my one boundary with my one boss. I've worked with 10, 15 different bosses in my like time, where it's continuously setting
different partners in different cities.
Yep,
like,
correct. All over. So setting that expectation right away of like, hey, I work hard. I have a good work ethic. I'm someone that if you tell me there's a project due 6, 12 months from now, I'm going to get us there, but you're not going to take advantage of me in the meantime.
Right.
And I've learned that kind of like that balance does work. However, if you're someone that needs to be handheld 24/7 and then you try to set a boundary of don't handhold me, not going to work. Yeah. And if you're completely the opposite, where you're like, I can overwork and I don't know how to set boundaries. I've worked with people who work 100-hour work weeks and never say anything. And it's like, you will burn out.
Yeah.
You will die here. Like,
that happened. Like,
it does. It's happened multiple times.
We've seen it happen even with just friends of ours. Like, you know, they're working crazy hours, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm done. I don't want anything to do with it.
Correct. And so then like, you're almost like, and it's hard because when you work this hard, you go to college, you go to get your master's program, you get your license, you get all these things. Right. And then you have to turn around and be like, I have to quit now. Right. I have to throw it all away. Right. You put all that work in for what? And it's like, however, this does lead me to the next advice that I was going to give. That life is not linear. Yes. Right? And this was my main thing. So obviously with work, guys, like, if you're choosing a career or you're thinking about changing career, that's my advice. Like, really kind of like self-reflect before you choose. But anyway, my second one was, what about all these college students? Little background, I was in college for like 8 years. Mm. I changed my major so many times that by the time I landed on my field, my guidance counselor was like, we can't actually change your major anymore. You've already changed it too much, so you're stuck. And so luckily it worked out for me. But who knows what they actually want to be in life? Yeah. I still don't even know what I want to be in life. Yeah, I still don't
know what I want to do. So
correct. So like reminding everyone that we're like push this idea that life is linear. You finish high school, you go to college. You finish college, you might get your master's program. You finish that, you start your career. You focus on your career, you meet the love of your life. You get married, then you have kids, and then what? Yeah. You work and work and work and work until you retire or die. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I think breaking that mold of understanding that, first of all, that's great. That's like the American dream, whatever. But that does not have to be the case. No, not at all. You don't have to get your degree and then work that same job for 65 years. You don't have to. Why would you have to? Yeah. Why? And I know people are stuck in the mindset. It's what they're comfortable with. It's just the day in, day out. It's paying the bills, blah, blah, blah. Right. But if you want it bad enough and all of a sudden you're 40 years old and all of a sudden you want to be a doctor, go to school and become a doctor. And I know it's like maybe there's a financial issue, but I'm telling you, someone will throw a student loan at you. Like, if you want it bad enough, like, don't make the fact that you're already 40 the excuse. Now, if you have other reasons, that's fine. But I'm just trying to tell you, like, you could pick up and learn a new skill at 63. goes back to, I remember my mom recently went through a divorce. 4 years now.
Yeah,
it's been a while. But at first, when she was thinking about going through the divorce, she was like, I'm 51 years old. Like, we're just going to live out the rest of our days together. And I was like, Mother, you might live another 49 years. Are you kidding me right now? You are 51 years old. But I feel like when you're in it, you're like, like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm 31. Like, I'm
not going to start over or whatever. Yeah.
Correct. And it's like, if someone looked at you today and said, you only have a week left to live, wouldn't you start going out and doing all the things you wish you had?
Yeah.
But yet when somebody says you most likely have another 40 years, you're like, I guess
I'll get there one day.
I'll just settle.
Yeah.
So life is not linear. Like, you want to learn a new skill, learn a new skill. Yeah. You want to start a new job, start a new job. If you are not happy in your current predicament, you are the only person stopping you from getting to where you need to be.
Right.
It's that simple. But the thing is, we get stuck. We get so stuck in the day-to-day. You and I were in it. Yeah. We were in a rut. I'm not going to lie to you guys. July sucked for us. Yep. Like, it was bad. It was like emotionally damaging. I'm pretty sure I was depressed the entire time. I cried like 18 times.
Right.
Okay. So, but then we had a hard moment of what is happening and why is it happening? And then it was like, okay, well, first of all, we know diet and exercise has a lot to do with that. Like, I'm telling you guys, if you listen to anyone's diet and exercise, just listen to our advice. I'm telling you, we've trialed and errored this enough to say, like, we can see it. So we're like, okay, we're eating horribly. We're treating our bodies horribly. We're not, like, doing the things we need to. So we decide to change it. So we're like, 75 hard it is. I'm all of a sudden like mental clarity again. I'm feeling great. I'm looking great. I'm not inflamed anymore. My brain is not like sluggish. Yep. And then I'm forward thinking. I'm like, okay, well, what now? Like, what do I want to do now? And so I'm looking at like I said, I'm looking into like new things for my career. I thought I was going to quit my job.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, let's go, guys.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole game plan just a couple months ago. Yeah. But, you know,
I don't need to anymore. Yeah. Like, I structured my mindset and realized things aren't as bad as it seemed. I was not as stuck as I seemed, but I put myself in a box.
Right.
I was stuck.
And I feel like once you're in that mentality too, you just continue to progress into that mentality. So it's like, no matter what you do, you're always going to be stuck in that box until you realize that maybe you're not. Yep. And then as soon as you step out of that, you're like, okay, well, is it really that bad? Is there like another path? Is there something I could do to kind of fix my current situation?
Mm-hmm. No, it so becomes the mindset. Yeah. Like, it's like the saying, like, this breeds this. Right. Success breeds success. Money breeds success. Or money breeds money. Like, depression breeds depression. Like,
100%.
Like, mindset breeds mindset. At the end of the day, how you chose to do your mindset, you're gonna keep doing it. And there's a study on it. Your brain picks up on everything around you. Everything around you. However, your brain filters it for you. It says, based off of how cognizant you are on these certain things, I'm going to push this data to you forefront, and then I'll let the rest filter. Have you ever realized, like, I've never seen a certain kind of car on the road. I never see them. And then all of a sudden you go out and you get that car. You're interested in that car. How often do you see that damn car now?
Yeah.
It's not because all of a sudden you and everyone in the population decide to go buy that car. It's because now your brain says this is relevant to you. Yep. So your brain does the same thing with the way you treat yourself, the way you talk to yourself. So you see things in the mirror and you're like, hey, I didn't like this. I was going to go on to like physical looks, but that's true too. Like, if you're like, I don't like my eyes, I don't like my nose, I don't like this, I don't like this. Every time you look in the mirror, your brain might say, beautiful hair, beautiful ears, beautiful mouth. She's focused on the nose right now, so all I'm going to tell her is an ugly nose. Like, that's what your brain's going to push. And if you start saying, like, my job sucks, every day you're going to go to work, your brain is going to start nitpicking at the things and pushing to the front of your brain the things that sucked about your work that day. Yep. Same thing with a relationship. If I focused on, like, bad in our relationship, you and I would not have the relationship that we have.
Right.
But I focus on the good, and that breeds more good. Like, and we've been through bad. Yeah, so absolutely. I know for a fact that this is exactly how the brain works. And so, and then having more good, you see more good, and then you are good, and everyone's good. But yeah, like, feeling like you're just stuck in a process and that your entire life is this linear thing. Mm-hmm. You have no choice. You can't make a change. You can't go after what you want. How many of us had dreams as kids that we just gave up?
Yeah.
How many?
Yep.
And now we finally have freedom in the sense of a choice. We're not kids anymore. You can't just go sign up for a class for ballet as a kid, but you can as an adult. No one's stopping you. Okay. And we have more financial freedom. And I know people are going to say, maybe I don't have financial freedom, and that's fair, but maybe deep down, do you not have financial freedom, or is that just an easy excuse to make?
Yeah, I feel like that's a big one. I feel like a lot of people always get stuck in like I saw something the other day that said, how can somebody afford, it was like a car that we see probably every single day, like nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, well, I absolutely refuse to believe that everybody makes $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
And that is a high figure.
Correct.
But there are so many people that do. Mm-hmm. And it's like so easy to get trapped in the mindset of, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. Like I was in that for a long time.
Yeah.
And then obviously like we ended up getting there or whatever. Yeah. It's very attainable.
Oh no, I thought I was going to make $30,000 a year and I was going to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And you change the mindset of like that's how much my mom made.
Yeah.
My dad maybe made 50 when he was like top, when I was growing up. Obviously he ended up making, or I guess my stepdad, that they're divorced now, but like anyway, he ended up making more. But like we were poor. Yeah. Like we were poor. 3 kids, like it was rough. And so you grow up in that mentality of like, I just need to try to get there.
Yep.
And then it becomes, well, if other people can make more, why can't I?
Right.
What are they doing that I'm not doing?
Right.
And they're not putting themselves in this box of, I just need to make enough to cover this.
Right.
They're thinking, what are my skill sets? What do I have to offer to this table? And how do I hone in on this, learn it, challenge myself, and go out and provide that service? Like it becomes, who am I to make that versus why can't I? Like, oh, everyone else makes it but me.
Right.
Again, it's a mindset shift.
Right.
You are shifting from the sheep to the lion.
Right.
Like from the masses to who am I and how am I going to be better today? How am I going to get to where I want, what I want, how I'm going to do it?
Right.
And sometimes it's not as simple as just like, oh, I'm going to go get a better job, which is where I was going to go real quick with this. It was like, if you really want to say you want that gym membership, you want to go out and you want to be bulk, and you're like, I can't afford that $60 gym membership to the nicer gym, the blah, 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 blah. Take a look at what you're spending your money on.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm not going to call people out. How many times are you going out to eat? What are you eating?
Yeah.
How many times are you buying alcohol? Where are you drinking? Like, if you want it bad enough, you're going to find that $60 a month. I promise you're going to find it.
Right.
Or guess what? I think you could just like sign up to do like a DoorDash, like whatever.
There's all kinds of different ways
I used to do surveys.
Oh,
surveys
I remember
of
you
how
doing
to make.
that,
I never cashed that money out. It was like $50, but still, like there are. The internet is right there.
Yep.
Are you scrolling mindlessly, or are you trying to find a way to make some money? Yep. Like if you really want to get there that bad. Yeah. So
not a huge fan of TikTok Shop, but hey, if you're seeing this, you're probably going to be like, you
might want to give it a shot. Like,
you made some decent, I mean, you could have paid for a year of gym membership.
Yeah. Correct.
Just a couple weeks.
Correct. And so it's like, I feel like in a world, especially so digital, like there's got to be better ways for everyone to have an opportunity. You just have to change your mindset to say like, woe is me, to like, well, I can do it. Am I able to do it? Let's go.
Yeah. The answer to that is yes. Almost always the answer to that is yes. It's just a matter of figuring out how to get from A to B.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do have to come up with a plan and you have to make sacrifices, but that's just part of it.
Stop making the damn excuses too. Like we do that often, like a lot of times. Like if you know me, you probably came from my TikTok channel. Do you know sometimes I'll be like, Jam, I never get views. Actually, like I'm not even going to talk about TikTok views, but like every single time in the past when things were normal and I'd be like, Jam, I'm not getting any views. You know what I would do? I'd be like, that's because your videos are shit. And guess what would happen? I'd be like, damn, my videos are kind of shit right now. I'm just kind of yapping. I'm just not doing too much. And then I'd sit down at the drawing board and be like, what does well? What can I do well? What can I do better? And then every time the next video would be like, boom, blown up. And so it's like, even for people, if you're seeing someone else doing well, you probably are like, oh, it's so easy for them. Yeah. All those people, too, are having hard looks in the mirror of don't be trash today. Yeah. Be better today.
Yeah. I told you just the other day, I walked right in the mirror. I looked at myself and said, get your shit together.
Yep.
Like, figure this out.
Come on, dude.
Yeah, I was struggle busting there.
Yep.
Sometimes it's just what you have to do.
Correct. You don't have to talk down to there's a difference between talking down to yourself and being like, you're a piece of shit. Yeah. You're not going anywhere. You're never going to do it. And like hamping yourself up and like real talking with yourself is like, that's not what that's not what you need to be doing. Like get your shit together. There's a huge difference on how you speak to yourself.
Yep.
And speaking to yourself properly is probably, I say like drink water, see sunlight, feed yourself well, and speak to yourself well. Yeah. Like if you could, I wish everyone would just do that. Yeah. You're going to just start to see it like all multiply.
Well, so I think that's, I have a memory of when Kelsey was younger where you and her would sit in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
And then you guys would recite the same thing every single day. What was it?
It's like, I am pretty, I am kind, I am something, something, something. We had like 5 that we said. It was like one about her looks. Oh, I'm smart.
Yep.
I'm kind. I'm pretty.
I'm loved.
Yeah, that was a big one. And like, I love myself or something like that. Yep. Like it was like a look thing, a smart thing, a heart thing.
Yep.
And then like how I feel about myself and how others feel about me.
You like went through all the basic emotions to make sure that
say that
she would give herself affirmation.
Yep.
That, she felt all the things that she should.
Yep.
And I think that even in times of maybe not actually feeling that, the mentality alone is enough to kind of shift.
Absolutely.
And give you just that little bit of an edge to maybe get out of it.
Yeah. Because once you start, you're your biggest advocate and your biggest op. Like, I swear to God, like, it's you, man. Like, and this is probably sounds like the worst advice. I think I may have mentioned this in a TikTok. It sounds horrible, but I tell my kid all the time that no one cares about her. Okay? Hear me out. Because she in her head, just like you in your head and you in your head and me in my head, I am the biggest star in the world, right? Like all you do day in and day out, like it's you doing things, right? So in your head, everyone looks at you. Everyone notices the things you notice, all the little flaws, all the little mistakes. Everyone else is tallying it the way you do. Yep. Everyone else, when they go to bed, is laying down and thinking about your mistakes you made today. You did wrong, the way you did, right? And so in your head, you're like, this tiny little pimple, everyone's looking at it right now. That one mistake I made 3 weeks ago, everyone's still thinking about it. My high school friends still remember that time. No one remembers because no one cares, okay? Right. In the best way possible. The people that love you. And frankly, they don't give a shit about that pimple on your forehead. Right. No one cares about you the way that you do. So if you change that mentality to realize that you're the only one fussing over that tiny thing, and it is as simple as telling yourself to stop, it's not easy to do. It's going to take months and months and months of training. I know from experience. But you're the only person bugging out about that.
Right.
Change it. Like, stop. Like, I swear I gaslit myself into being hot. I said it before. I'll say it again. I gaslit myself into being a good looking person because I told myself in my head I was a good looking person. And then what happened is I started to believe it. So I started acting like what I thought hot people acted like. Yep. Hot people do Pilates. Yep. Hot people like wear jewelry, and hot people like take care of themselves.
Right.
So I got hot. I'm just saying, like, the mind is a beautiful thing.
It really is. It's so powerful.
Or a very dangerous thing. Yeah. You get to choose what it looks like.
It's powerful. It's just a matter which way it goes.
Correct. So it can be very dangerous. And I speak, again, heavily, heavily depressed way back in the day.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not even just saying this as somebody that's like, life has been all grand. Like, I'm saying this as somebody who has been rock bottom,
right,
and has found her way out and has actively tried to help other friends that I see at rock bottom, but no one wants to hear it.
Well, nobody wants to hear it when you're in it. Yeah. But I think I think that's what's kind of cool about this, right? So a lot of times I imagine people listen to this podcast or things like that. They're in their own like world. Like no one else is listening right now.
Yep.
You know, you're probably just listening or you're with your significant other or whatever.
Yeah.
But like as a majority, whenever I listen to a podcast, I'm by myself.
Yep.
And I'm just tuned into it or whatever. And it's like, I can hear that message without all of the interruption. I'm not worried about what else is going on outside right now. I'm just listening. And
it takes the personal out of it. Like versus, I'm not sitting here looking at you.
Right.
I mean, like, you fix it. You just know I'm talking to like out of experience.
Yeah.
And so you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And so like I could see that being like the message hits a little bit better of like someone else has been there.
Yeah, it's like a more personal message, right? Like
without it being like
without it being
you
like
specifically on this day, you know, kind of thing. Yeah,
but it's kind of like
see that.
I don't know if you've ever gone into like a church ceremony, like you're going through something, you walk in, and it's just like all of a sudden he says something, and it just like punches you right in the face.
Yeah, and he has no idea it hit you. Like, yes, correct.
Jeez,
wasn't ready.
I just imagine like just a platform like this being powerful like that because of the fact that it can reach people.
Correct. That's great. Yeah. I hope so. I hope so. That's actually happened to us once where somebody reached out when we were talking about setting boundaries in the family setting.
Yeah.
And unfortunately I don't see my Instagram messages like very well, so I didn't see it for a long time, but I finally did.
Yeah.
That was cool. So like if you guys ever like listen to anything we say and it resonates, please reach out. Like,
yeah, it's good to like, it's one of those things where I feel like sometimes we kind of struggle with the purpose of this podcast.
Correct.
And it's like, at the end of the day, we want to put something out there that's just good.
Yeah.
Like good for people to listen to, good for people to like, maybe it'll make a difference in somebody's life.
Correct.
Like that's kind of our whole goal with this.
Yep. Because we have underlying themes. Obviously we started with the book thing, but like me and Ryan are so much more than books. My plan is though, I have a couple girlfriends I want to get on this podcast too, so that we could do like a little like girly pop podcast for books. But like the whole podcast started because I was like, guys, like we actually have like more things to talk about. Would anybody be interested? So every week looks a little bit different, but this one I was excited for because I was, like I said, I was just driving and it just like hit me of, like you sit there when you're younger and you think like everything has to be figured out. And I can tell you at the age of 31 that I still sit here thinking like, oh, should everything be figured out? And like 10 years has treated me so well. Like I am so blessed and so grateful for where I'm at, but not a single part of me thinks I'm done. I'm not done learning. I'm not done trying new things. I want to take new classes. Like I'm growing so I can keep growing. I saw a woman the other day on TikTok. She was like me at 45 and it's her like practicing a dance move. And then it said her at 50 and she was killing it. And I'm like, I want to dance so bad. And like, why don't I take a dance class? Like, and the girl, like, why not? Like, nothing's stopping me. And like, I think that's great for Kels to see. Like me, like trying new things, you trying new things. Like it's great for everyone to see.
I turned my entire career path completely upside down.
Correct. So 2 months ago, Ryan just changed his whole life, and like you're still figuring it out, but you're doing so well doing it. So it's like,
for sure. And I'm so much happier too. So
I'm much happier. We as a unit are so much happier. So. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things of learning. Nothing's stopping us,
right?
Except for ourselves. Like
it's always ourselves. It really is.
Sometimes you gotta work for it. Like I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like I mean, I talk about times I work 90-hour work weeks, 55-hour work weeks. In college, I was taking 5 courses. I was on the dean's list while working 3 jobs.
Yep.
Like.
And planning our wedding.
And studying for my license exam for my career. So I remember in 1 week, I finished, it was my last college summer courses. So it was like August 4th was finals. August 8th was my birthday. August 9th was reg for the CPA exam. August 11th was my bachelor party. August 17th was our wedding.
Yep.
So I'm telling you, like, and my last day of work was also August 5th. Yeah, so it's like all right, like pop. Last day of work prior to me starting my actual career. I started my career a couple weeks later, but it was kind of one of those things like, there's never been a time that like we haven't been balls to the wall.
Yeah.
You know, it's always been like that. And that's why I kind of want to do a day in my life, because my life, really like maybe I'll do it tomorrow, because my day in my life is literally wake up, yoga, like yoga and red light, because that's so good for your skin. And then I come down, I like have coffee, then I get dressed, then I get do Kelsey's hair, then we walk Kels down to the bus stop, then we come back, then I get ready, then I go to work, then I work obviously all day. And if I'm working from home, then like on my lunch break, I'll do maybe some editing or like something else. Then I come home, we have dinner, then it's a workout. Then it's like help Kels with homework. Then it's sauna. Then it's another workout, because we're supposed to do the two. One of them's outside. And then it's like, okay, then it's shower. Then it's read. Then it's, and during which I do audiobooks. So it's like,
film content.
It's tonight we made sure that we could do the podcast. So it's like trying to figure out when to edit, when to do a podcast, when to do long form, and how to read. So like, for instance, I'm all booked for the rest of the month for books to read. Right. And I've got 4 that I need to get done by the end of the month, that I want to get done. Somebody sent me a date with a book, and I can't wait next Sunday. I think I'm going to do that. So, nice. Anyway, long story short, what I'm trying to say is like, there's a lot of time in the day. Yep. You just have to like really organize that. And luckily now Ryan's home. So like he does a lot of the housework, but before last month, all housework was like involved in that too. So I do want to take a note that like, you are such a good partner too. So not everybody has that. So that couldn't be an excuse. I get that. But if you don't have a good partner, send them this podcast.
Yeah. I'll do a day in my life as
my husband.
Yeah. I feel like that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, do one for you. And like, because Ryan's taking the role now of like he works, but it's at home now. So he's doing more stay at home dad things. And Kelsey's loving that. Like you guys are growing that relationship. And so that's been great. But yeah, so I guess what we're trying to say is change your mindset. What was the thing you said? What's your little slogan that you were saying? Yeah.
Oh, it's change your
mindset, change your life.
Change your mind, change your life, but never change your wife.
That's right. We're going to put that on the t-shirt. Never change your wife.
Never change your wife.
I love it. But did you have any other advice?
No, I think that was good. But yeah,
I kind of hijacked this podcast.
You did,
sorry.
But that's okay. I think that you were killing it. So, but yeah, so I mean, I think if there's anything that you can kind of like say out of this, like if we can figure it out, you guys can too. Yes. Anybody listening to this can do anything that we're capable of doing. We're not anything special.
We're not that smart.
We're not that smart.
We're fucking dumb.
We just figure it out. So
correct. And if you want any more advice on it, or if you guys want us to hit on more topics, let us know. Like I said, DM me if ever like anything ever resonates. I'm horrible at taking Instagram, but
yeah, we got to get better about Instagram.
I do, but I'm gonna work on it. And then obviously on YouTube. And I don't think do you talk on podcast stuff? Like if you're listening on Apple, can you like it? Can you comment?
I actually don't know the answer to that. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, come find me
on TikTok.
You
can give us 5 stars.
Do it.
I don't know what we get out of it, but I think that's about all you can do is just rate the podcast.
Gotcha. But yeah, we'll keep doing some stuff. I'm hoping next week I'm going to pull either Carrie or Zane. Watch out, Carrie or Zane.
Yep. Or both of them. We have 4 mics. We do have 4 mics.
We can have, my friends are nervous to come on the podcast because they're like, we need to know what we're going to talk about.
No, you don't.
And I'm like, no, I don't even know what we're going to talk about. Just come on over. And they're like, can we drink wine? And I'm like, of course you can drink wine. Come sit on our podcast. I feel like the girlies would love that.
Absolutely.
So we're going to rope them in. Maybe that will be our podcast next week. So check us out.
Yep.
All right. You good?
I think I'm good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.